Let's finish it.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of The Closing Pitch. My name is Spiker Helms, and this is a show about people, culture, and how to create a winning lifestyle. Across from me is David Berkby, and we have something that we want to address, which is giving us a review. We need more reviews. You can go on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating. That helps us grow this show. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. That's the best way to grow this show as well. This is on the Closing Pitch YouTube channel. And then also, you can comment in the YouTube comment section. That helps with our algorithm, or not our algorithm, YouTube's algorithm, aka Google, and it helps push that out. And if there's something that you want us to address, like a question that is on top of this, like I've talked to a number of people, and they're like, "Man, I wish you would have gone down this route." And I'm like, "Oh, I wish I would have known that." Comment, and we'll end up addressing it in the next podcast. So we want some engagement. We think that this is not just me and Dave talking back and forth. Mm-hmm. This is a huge community that we want to build, and we want it to be your podcast, not our podcast. Even though that sounds like really corny, and I hate that whole like marketing thing that people do, like, "Oh, it's not about us, it's not about us, it's about you."
It's a little bit about us.
Yeah, you know what screw it, it is about us. We're trying to be famous. We're trying to be YouTube famous, TikTok famous. I'm trying to make some dough, and then I'm going to exit this podcast. Dave, you are on your own.
I like it. I like it.
I like it. I'll go solo.
All about the greed.
It goes about 2 weeks ago. I was talking with one of our clients that came in, and I've given her sons lessons. You have too. Her name is April. Love her to death. Love that family to death. They're just awesome people. And she's always on top of it. Like she knows where she wants the boys to go and has a really good plan. And the boys are obviously their own men as well. And she asked a great question. She's like, "I love when you guys talk about college recruiting, whether that's on the Tiger Interview Series or the Closing Pitch. I love it when you guys talk about it, especially when Coach Pratt was talking about it. It gave a really good perspective." And I started asking the boys, "Where do you guys want to go to college?" And literally they said, "I don't know." And then they just stared out the window or looked at their iPads or whatever. And then the conversation just ended. She's like, how do you start that? How do you begin that? If they just say, "I don't know," what's the response on that? Do you try to drill them even more? Do you try to dig it? Like, well, what do you like? What do you do this? What do you do that?
I don't know. And
they say, "I don't know." It's just a repetitive.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it. And obviously being 13-year-old boys, 14, 15-year-old boys, they're obviously into video games. They're into their friends, and they're not necessarily thinking about the future. They're just there to have a good time.
Yep.
So I raised the question to Dave. I was like, "Hey, I really want to talk about this topic." And he goes, "You're not going to like my answer. You just won't. We can talk about it, but you just won't like my answer." I was like, "Well, share it with me." He's like, "No, turn the mics on." What's your answer?
So ask the question first.
To like you're...
Yeah, you ask the question to me.
Like you're a 13-year-old boy?
No. I'm going to say what... just ask the question. Frame out the podcast.
Where do you want to go to college?
So if you're asking... So me as an adult, okay, and me as a coach who's had those conversations with parents and players for years, quite frankly, they're not ready to have that conversation. They're not ready to even have that answer. I firmly don't believe that most high school athletes can give you a solid answer on that. I've had about probably 5 conversations in my 12 years of doing this where I've asked that question, and that kid has gone, "I want this, and this, and why?" And I've been like, "Okay, meeting over. You got it. You got it figured out." The rest of them don't. Now, that's okay that they don't know that answer because I don't expect them to. How do you start the conversation? Maybe it's different in so many different ways. Maybe it's, what do you like about that school?
Maybe it's not even conversation.
Maybe it's literally like, You know where some conversations really do start about that? Let's just go walk through that campus. See what he thinks. See what she thinks.
Like a road trip. You know, that's a really good point. If you're traveling to Florida, because that's what Americans do, we love going to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you stop on a campus and like, hey, we're just going to take a detour. I want to show you this school.
Yeah, or like they you know, most, you know,
They'll be like, Mom, why do you want to show us that?
well, most young athletes like know the big schools and they want to like see the stadiums, right? So maybe
Yeah.
you're like, hey, we're going to go to Ohio State to go check out the Horseshoe and go see that huge stadium, right? And while we do that, we're also going to walk through the campus a little bit. Cool. You'll get a cool answer out of that. They'll do that, right? Then you can start to kind of pick. As they get older, they should theoretically have more questions because when their friends, it's really, they're going to start asking those questions when their friends start asking the questions. When they start talking about college, then okay, the questions can expand. But are they going to really know? No. That's what life is. That's what experiences help you figure that out.
Yeah, I don't know if it's really a conversation. It's more action. It goes back to, and you're going to make fun of me of this, but it goes back to smelling the leather. It goes back to experiencing it.
Yeah.
Going to those different, when I was in college, I wish I would have done this in high school. We would go down to Corpus Christi, Texas. It was a way for us to just get away, me and my dad. My mom wasn't around.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went down to Corpus Christi just to train, and we would train down at the university in Corpus Christi.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool campus, small. I don't think I would ever attend there personally, but it gave me a lot of perspective, like what that culture was like in the university. I was like, oh, I can see how kids can do this. And they got this whole vibe of the palm trees, and it's more of an open concept. I kind of dig it, but I don't know if I would go here. That's a really good point for kids to do, for parents, and maybe not sit there and get frustrated and be like, well, why don't you know where you want to go?
Do you know how big of a question that is, by the way?
Oh, it's massive.
Like, don't expect to get a good answer. Like, I'm telling you, I've asked that question more than most. I don't get good answers on that, even from some of the kids who have experienced a lot. That's a huge question to answer. So maybe you kind of dissect it and you ask little questions that they can answer.
Well, personally, when I started buying my townhome, I had no idea what type of house I wanted. I had to go to see almost 50 different properties just to have an idea of like what type of property do I actually want. If my dad came up to me and said, all right, it is time for you to buy your house. Mm-hmm. Where do you want to live?
I don't know.
Literally, that is what I would say. I'm like, I don't know. He's like, well, why don't you know? You got to invest something. You got to have a property. That's a really good investment.
Well, yeah, sure. We know that.
What do you want to do?
We know that. But
Like,
what?
I don't know.
You know, and then you start asking, well, do you like this layout? Do you like that layout? Have you walked through this? Have you done that? Then all of a sudden you start to format ideas, right? And questions come from ideas, right? So, I mean, it's such a blanket, huge question to ask. It will happen, and it will happen at different times for different people. Some people know as a freshman in high school what they want for the rest of their life. And good on you, because that's you. Golly, you're better than I was. Some people won't figure it out until later.
And I would say most people can't really articulate that. They can't write it down. They might have some ideas and goals in mind, but they don't get those goals and ideas until they experience more things.
Sure.
Shondi is really big into traveling. She loves traveling. And the reason that she's big into traveling, she knows all these different places that she wants to go to.
Sure.
I don't. I only traveled in the United States. So I only know like, oh, I want to go see Yosemite. I want to go see I want to go to Vancouver, like up in the Seattle area. I want to see that. I want to see Mount St. Helens. And then she's just rattling off these things constantly. And I'm like, how do you know like all these places? And she's like, oh, I traveled when I was younger overseas a lot.
Yeah. She's done
She
it.
experienced it. Now I want to experience that because
Sure.
she's experienced that. So I really love that point of go taste the campus. If taste the campus. If they're not into college, maybe they need to taste some other things outside of college, where it's different internships. Like you work part-time for somebody, and then you start realizing, oh, this is a type of business that I would like to get into, or this is the type of work that I would want to do. That's why internships are so important. Yeah, you're not getting paid. You're basically the coffee getter.
Yeah.
But you're around the culture, and you can really experience, hey, I really like this. Like Drew said it, our intern. He was like, Spike, coming into this internship, I had no idea what to really expect. And I thought I only had the playing experience. And now what I see, what you do on the day-to-day, it's crazy. And I've realized that I don't want to go into sports because of da-da-da-da-da-da. I was like, that is exactly what an internship is for. He's like, I love what you guys do. It's just, for me, I want to be doing this instead.
Sure.
He's like, I almost went down the St. Louis Cardinals route. I was thinking about the St. Louis Cardinals route. I was thinking about what other sports places I could go to. Now I've realized I really don't want to do that. I want to go into a different industry altogether, get away from the sports. I was like, perfect. That's exactly what you want to do.
You only learn that from experiences. Yep. You only do. So that's what I'm saying. So like, going back to that key question, like, how do you approach that to a 13, a 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid? Like, asking them, well, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? Like, where do you want to go to college? Like, don't ask that. Don't go that route. Go the route of, hey, we're going to go check this out. We're going to go see what that's all about. And then we'll ask them cool questions. We'll see. Right?
I bet you the kids will start opening up the conversation anyways. Like,
probably.
Because they'll come out of that campus. Like, if they go visit the Horseshoe at Ohio State, they're going to come out with just like, oh my gosh, that was awesome. Like this, and then this. And if they come out of the Horseshoe and they're like, they don't say anything, then you probably know, like, hey, it's probably not the thing for them.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the simple way to go about it. And again, nobody's timeline's the same.
That's true.
You can't expect it to be. Just because Jimmy knows exactly what he wants doesn't mean you have to.
Well, when you were 15 years old, do you think that you'd be across from a guy named Spiker doing a podcast?
No. No.
And doing club baseball?
No. Not at all. And who knows 15 years down the road what you're going to do.
It's true.
So it doesn't, I guess my point is the answer to that question is always ongoing. It's never set in stone, and it never has to be right now. It just keeps evolving, right? And it keeps changing. So keep bringing it up, but in different formats. If you want your kids to start getting interested in it, which that is probably the purpose. The purpose is not to get the answer now. The purpose is to generate interest now. Who cares about what the answer is? A kid could give you the craziest answer in the world. Great, he gave you an answer. Just generate the interest. See if there's interest.
Yeah.
That's how I would approach it. You don't have to. Everyone's in a rush. Today, everybody's in a rush to be first. Everyone's in a rush with that answer to be able to post on Twitter that I am blessed and honored to say that I've committed to X school, which is great. That's amazing. But make sure it's right for you. And who cares about when everybody else does it?
One of the kids,
do it for you.
One of the kids in St. Louis, I heard, said that the only reason that he committed to a school is because he wanted to be first.
That's crazy. By the way, that's crazy.
It's not good.
No. And when I hear that, I generally think, well, that's probably not going to be the final stop.
It won't be.
I hate to say that, and I hope it is, but it's like you haven't really asked enough questions. You haven't done enough homework. You haven't done enough research. You haven't been on enough campuses. You haven't experienced enough things to know. So and when they start to experience those things, then hopefully that decision's correct. I'm rooting for you, but I'm not sure. Again, stop trying to be first in that. Stop. It doesn't have to be answered now.
If I was committed right now, I think about this from time to time. I would not treat it like I was committed, which again, I probably wouldn't commit. But if I was committed, I wouldn't treat it like that. I would treat it as my recruiting is still open.
Well,
and I'm going to act and perform as if I don't have a deal at all.
and I do want to say this because it seems like I might be attacking early commitments, and I'm not. If you've done the research and the time and put it in, and you know, and you're 15, do it. But if you haven't, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
And if you're getting those offers and you're listening to this and you're like, dude, I haven't done the research, but I'm getting the offers, and these coaches are saying,
I can see
hey,
why someone does that though, because they're afraid of feelings of lost,
sure,
of missing out.
Sure.
You get FOMO.
sure.
And you're like, well, if I don't, they're interested in me now. So if I don't commit, are they going to be interested in me in like the future?
Right. Well, my recommendation on that would be you better start putting your research into Hyperdrive.
Yeah. But then at the same time, you think like, well, that's not really the right answer, the right question to ask. The question to ask is it the right fit? And if it's not, my recruiting timeline is still on track for signing in when I'm a junior and senior.
But my question to you is, how do you know what the right fit is?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is that I would not be. Evan
only
said it.
one
Evan
way.
said it great. I was like, so when is recruiting done? And he said, well, you can sign whatever you want, but if you're not on that field in the spring, what does it matter?
Right.
So that's a really good perspective on this is a long run game. This isn't a short run game. Even though that Jimmy whoever committed when he was 13 years old or 5, it shouldn't really matter. It should the thing to really focus on is experiencing a lot of things and trying to get as much experience as you possibly can.
Yep.
And then when the decision comes to if you do play baseball, you have a logical decision of like, I really like this campus. This is a good job. Or if it's just academics, like I love the culture. I love the professors. I talked to some of them. Oh, it was awesome. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Watch some of their YouTube videos because professors are putting stuff on YouTube now.
There's more information out there than ever before.
Yeah. It's crazy.
If you want to find it out, you can find it out. Yeah. I mean, that's where I'd start.
What's your closing pitch?
To answer that question, I think I've done it a billion different ways, but I would say, again, don't be worried about that answer being perfect. It's evolving. That answer will never be – that answer shouldn't be the same today as it should be a year from now. If you continuously ask different ways about what do you want, you know, what college do you want? What do you like about that college? What do you like about that baseball program? What do you like about that coach? You know, hey, we're on this campus. What do you like about that building? What do you like about this experience? There's a million different ways to approach it, and it's always kind of it's that formula of finding the what so-called right fit. It's continuous. It's ever growing, right? It's evolving all the time. And it's going to happen, that like little what we call that light bulb moment, it's going to happen at a different point for everybody. Mm-hmm. This happens at 15 for some, it happens at 18 for some, it happens at 22 for others. But it's going to happen. Don't be worried about someone else's timeline. Be worried about yours. But do your work. Ask your questions, and keep working through the process. It's not fun. It's not a fun answer. The process, whenever that comes up, no one likes it. They probably turn off this podcast right now. But it's true. Stick to it.
Interesting conversations happen. One, you have to have good information, like someone that knows a lot of things about a specific topic. But more importantly, it's experiences. The best conversations that I've been a part of are people that have had unbelievable experiences, not necessarily the information that they know. Mm-hmm. Stack experiences. Learn as much as you want, learn as much as you can, but I would put on my priority list, I want to stack as many experiences as I can, and it'll give me a better insight on making a decision.
I agree.
Guys, that's this episode of The Closing Pitch. My name is Spiker Helms. Across from me is David Birkby. We really appreciate the conversation and you being a part of it. Again, this is not about us. It's about
Yes, it
you.
is.
Give us a subscribe on the podcast of choice. If you are the one listener on Google Podcasts, giddy up. We appreciate you. But if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us a follow, give us a subscription. YouTube, we have a YouTube channel for The Closing Pitch and a YouTube channel for the Rawlings Tigers. So the Tiger interview series, which is specifically focused on baseball knowledge. A lot of smart individuals on that show. I just enjoy all the conversations and the insights that they're able to give. So go ahead and subscribe to those two shows, and we appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you in the next episode.
Thanks, guys.